guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Give Me That Table. This happened in the early 90s. I went to elementary school with a girl whose family owned a successful small chain of Greek diners in town. We'll call her Tanya. When we started high school together, her family let her have a small lunch party at a location by our school that was also in a very wealthy neighborhood. We were 14, all gangly elbows and giggles, while Tanya graciously ferried our orders of mostly French fries to slash from the table to keep one of the waitresses from being bogged down with a non-tipping private party of sugared-up teenaged girls. In walks entitled woman, hereafter known as EW, who marches straight to the hostess and announces she will need their biggest table for her family's lunch. The diner was hopping as it was prime lunch time, so the hostess told EW it would be at least 30 minutes wait for an 8-top. EW launches into a tirade about how her family is parking, and the hostess has maximum 5 minutes to find her and her family a table or she's calling her personal friend the manager to get her fired. The hostess is stunned and tries to stammer out something apologetic, but EW just walks past her to survey the tables. She spots our little group in the back and immediately tells the hostess to clear out those stupid kids out and reset the table for her family. The hostess refuses and tells EW she'll have to wait like everyone else. EW loses it, screaming at how she'll have everyone fired. It's gone dead silent and everyone is staring at her. EW family is starting to filter in behind her and looks on confused. Probably feeling emboldened by having backup, EW proceeds to march over to our table and snatch baskets of fries and drinks off the table and throwing them in the nearby bus cart, yelling at us that we're done wasting the restaurant's money and that it's time to go. Most of us just cringed away from her looking confused, but Tanya, still carrying a basket of fries, got right in her face telling her to go away and stop being rude. EW was waiting for this apparently and chose to double down. She pulls out her ace card, "Do you know who I am?" and claims to be the owner's mother, right to Tanya's face and tell her she can kiss her little waitressing job goodbye. Tanya stares the speckless cow down and, without looking away, yells, "Hey Dad, yeah, is here to see you." Her dad pops his head out of the kitchen looking alarmed. "I hope not. She's been dead for 6 years." Hilarity ensues. The next story is titled How $5 Headphone Became $40 Bluetooth. I work as a sampler at a large warehouse superstore. My uniform is a white polo and black pants with a blue apron. I say this because in no way do I look like I work at Target. My story begins after work. It was about 6 p.m., and I decided to stop by the Target near my work. As I was wandering, I was listening to music on some cheap $5 headphones. I was looking to see if there were any good movies for a weekend binge. This woman in her mid-30s, early 40s came up behind me and jammed her finger into my shoulder. I turned around and pulled out an earned. "Mean woman will be MW, I'll be me." "Me? I'm sorry, I'll move," I said as I stepped to the side and she grabbed my shirt. "MW, where are you going? You need to help me." "MW, I'm sorry, I don't work here," and I put my earbud back in. She grabbed the wire to my earbud and ripped it out of my ear. For context, these were $5 earbuds I got at Walmart. They were cheap and had a small bit of plastic from the mold still on them, and when she pulled the plastic SC tacked the inside of my ear and hurt like hell. "MW, don't give me that crap. Now stop being lazy and help me find." "Me? I don't work here, you cranky old idiot. Piss off." "MW, how dare you, I will personally see you are fired," and she storms off. I put my earbud back in surprise, she tore the wire inside and I could not hear anything from it. As I continue looking for movies, I hear, "MW, there he is, that it is the man who won't help me and called me idiot. Manager will be M. Ma'am, he is not an employee here, but I can still help you." "MW, what do you mean? He's wearing a white polo, of course he works here." Ma'am, all Target employees wear red polos." "MW, well, I'm never coming here again if this is how I'm going to be treated." Seeing a chance to be petty, I chimed in. "Me? Excuses me, miss. I think you need buy me new headphones since you broke mine." "MW, I will not, you little crap." "Me? If not, I can always press charges on assault. There are cameras that caught the whole thing. If he does press charges, we will go over the footage." At this, without another word, she grabbed a pair of $40 headphones, bought them, and threw them at me before storming out. The next story is titled "Neighbor Likes to Park in Front of My House." Okay then, parking on the street behind my car, like literally inches, for no apparent reason. My neighbor has a driveway, empty, and lived 2 houses down the street. I don't have a driveway, so on-street parking is a must for me. So, after a few weeks, I asked if it was necessary to park so close when there were literally no cars on the street for over a 1/4 mile. He said no, but there's no law against it, with a big crap-eating grin on his face. A few weeks pass by and my car gets hit because someone thought there was enough room to clear as his truck blocked the view of my car entirely. I see this happen, but unfortunately can't hit a model or license plate number. I find my neighbor's email address because I really didn't feel like talking to him, and asked him again if he could just park further down the road, closer to his house. He replied, "Nope, suck on it." Okay. I had lived here for quite a long time and never had any issues with him or any other neighbor. I keep to myself, never make noise, don't have any noisy pets or parties, etc. His truck has his business name on it. Google it. Find out it's his own business. Lots of Yelp reviews, BBB rating, etc. All these links point to his website. I go to check his website. It doesn't load up. I head over to Who Is and see that the domain isn't registered. I snag it. Before I think of what to do with it, I Google the owner's name and find out he's been convicted of murdering a child 20-ish years ago. I find a handful of links that details his story rather explicitly. I copy/paste all those links into an email to him, a throwaway account, so he can't just reply to me as I deleted it afterward. Said something like, "Well, if you want to be a jerk for no reason, I just bought your business domain. Here's all the links I plan on posting on it. I don't have to list your business name because all your business listings across the internet have this URL pointing to it. Keep parking like a jerk. Yes, it's legal, but you are willfully doing this just to annoy me. I legally bought your domain and can legally link these articles. Park behind me again and I'll launch it." Within an hour, his truck was moved into his driveway. He asked me for the domain, and I told him when either you move or I move, I'll hand it over. Until then, it'll remain offline. The next story is titled "Falsely Accused of Working with Crime Syndicate Because I Deliver Them a Pizza." I never mistook this job for low risk, but I never imagined it could potentially get me thrown in jail. We got a pretty sketchy delivery call L8 hour. Our FOH is constantly slammed with everyone desperate to eat at a table again now that the vaccine's out, and they were in the weeds, so I grabbed the phone. Before I could even finish our standard greeting, the guy just goes, "Yeah, it's Mac. I'm ordering a pizza." I'm not much for small talk either, so I'm rolling with it, like, "Good for you, Mac. Pick up or delivery?" You know, just rattling off the standard questions. He answered the first few, but he seemed hesitant or confused. He argued with some other guy behind him for a sec, then got back on the line and ordered like normal, as though none of the preceding stuff had even happened. Whatever. I caught his delivery and I went. It was a standard large pizza, no toppings, no extras. They were going to pay cash. I pull up, and it's a scary, rundown, sparsely populated apartment complex. Mostly broke college students in there now, though, so I wasn't too concerned or anything. I get to the door, and when I knock, it eases open a bit. This didn't seem like the ideal neighborhood to keep your door unlocked, but not my business. I called in, "Hey, pizza." There was no response. I called a little louder, "Got your pizza out here." And an alarmed voice from inside was like, "SSHHH, just come in." Ah, no. I get that request weirdly a lot, like everyone from sketchy apartment bros to suburban soccer moms, asking me to bring the pizza to the dinner table because they're busy. Some people even pulled this during the pandemic. But it's a long-standing company policy, a damn good one, that entering the home for any reason whatsoever is a hard no. So I said back, "Can't do that. But I can leave it out here if you don't want to come to the door. Just need payment first." There was a silence and some shuffling, and then the door shut and locked. And the guy was like, "What do you mean payment first? That's not what we agreed on." Through the closed door. I was standing there wondering if this was the first pizza this man had ever ordered in his life, because payment first is basically implied, right? But I'm not looking for any confrontations or trying to be an a-hole, so I just tell him, "Yeah, So our store policy is payment first. And he erupts, screaming that's trying to pull some kind of scam on us because nobody at our store is named Mario, and I'm the one who took this order, so I know it was discussed. I decided if they weren't going to pay, I'd made a reasonable attempt to deliver, and I could safely head out now. As I'm preparing to do so, another guy, looking back now, I realize he didn't even have a box, walks very confidently up to the door, pounds on it like a heavy bag, and grunts, "Pizza's here." I didn't know if this dude in the apartment had ordered 2 identical pizzas from different shops, or if our pizza had taken long enough that he thought we weren't coming and called someone else, or I had the wrong apartment, or what. But it was weird enough that I decided to just go. Especially because pizza guy number 2 was looking at me with a real intense stare. Way more malice than I'd ever be able to muster on behalf of defending the turf for our joint's pies. He said something like, "Can I help you?" or "Wrong apartment," or something along the lines of a cordial go the duck away, but I was already on my way out and didn't really process it. I went back to the shop, told a story to the chef. We laughed and guessed at what it could have been to drive this man to order 2 pizzas at once. I didn't think about it again for several weeks. Those several weeks later, I was in the shop and a couple cops walk in. Not in uniform, but they had badges. They asked me if I'd been at such and such apartment complex on such and such day, and I was like, "That was weeks ago. I have no idea where I was." So they were all like, "In that case, you wouldn't mind coming down to talk to us about what you do remember." But I was like, "Really, nothing." And they said, "Well, that's fine. Let's talk anyways and see if there's something you might not realize is relevant that comes back to you," and all this stuff, prodding me. I told them, "I'm working right now, but I can come later next week maybe," but they were really insistent, which should have set off some flags in hindsight. They were like, "Well, this is a really pressing matter, and we'd appreciate if you came right now. We'll explain it to your boss so there won't be any problems. You'll really be helping us out." Their not being able to chat to me at work should have been the first red flag. But I knew I had not done anything illegal, so it didn't cross my mind that I could be in any sort of trouble or have a reason to worry. Especially because when I got to the police precinct, everyone was extremely friendly, like I was actually doing them a favor. They didn't throw me in a cell or try to intimidate me or anything. They brought me in a nice, air-conditioned conference room and gave me a comfortable chair and asked if I wanted anything to drink, and really just kind of shot the crap with me for 20-30 minutes. To this day, still confused about this. I think they even offered to order food if I remember right. I declined even the most basic offers because I was anxious to get back to my shift. Didn't need my coworkers getting any wrong ideas. I played along and made nice because they did get the okay from my boss to go as long as I needed. But in the back of my mind, I was like, "Didn't you say this was urgent?" They're running short-staffed at work just so we can trade hot takes on the college baseball World Series. Eventually though, and I think they were trying to be subtle, but they definitely weren't, they shifted to asking me about what they really brought me in to talk about. They asked me about if I'd made a delivery to the apartment complex, and I'd obviously racked my brain between when the cops first arrived and then, so I told them actually I had. That I wasn't sure if it was exactly the day they were quoting me, but it was around then. I figured they'd asked about the delivery, but didn't want to get ahead of their questions. I figured a brain dump of information would make me come off as guilty. Plus, I didn't want to accidentally tell them more than they were expecting to hear and land myself there longer. But instead of asking, like, any of the questions I expected they'd ask, they said, "And how long had you known the guys you were delivering to?" Kind of confused, I responded I didn't. I could see that my answer disappointed them, but it was the truth. They collected themselves pretty quickly though. There were 2 detectives, the same 2 who'd come for me in the store, and one kept insisting on the facts as they saw them, and the other kept trying to bend things in my favor. So the bend guy was like, "Okay, sure. Not like y'all are best friends or anything, but you at least knew them as customers, right?" I wasn't sure what "knew them as customers" was supposed to mean, because to me, they changed topics. They asked how long the delivery had been planned for. I told them everything had to be ordered same day, unless it was 4 or more pies, and I didn't remember exactly when they called, but per store policy, wouldn't have been more than an hour before it was delivered. Probably sooner, based on where they were relative to the store. We went back and forth like this for way longer than I was anticipating. Them asking me questions that seemed to imply I knew something. Me feeling super confused and giving them visibly disappointing answers, reminding them I knew nothing. Eventually they seemed pretty frustrated, and they were basically like, "Stop lying to us, man, cut the crap." Your friends rolled on you. It's done. And I'm sitting here thinking I have friends. But of course, in all seriousness, I was shocked by the change of tone because I had no clue what they were talking about. And I told them so. And they were both like, "Come on, man, you're just embarrassing yourself at this point." With one trying to reassure me that if I just told them what I knew they could still help me, and the other saying I was too stupid to seize this last chance. Well, no reason to sit around and be spoken to like that. I got up to leave. Before I knew what was happening, I was being Mirandized. It was like a horror movie nightmare playing out in slow motion in front of my eyes. So I stopped with "I want you to know that I want to get back to work, but I'm gonna be chill out of courtesy, demeanor, and lost my crap at that point." I kept really forcefully, without coming off as erratic, or so I hope, insisting that I did not even know what they were talking about, like I've been saying all along. They were not having any of it. They kept saying, "Videotape doesn't lie, man. You want to see the tape before you lock yourself into another lie. The jury's gonna eat this up." Jury? I nearly crap myself. I don't even turn right at red lights half the time. Plus, you had video all this time. You were grilling me to remember what happened, and you could have just shown me a video. What the duck? I knew I was in over my head at that point. A million thoughts were swirling around, and I was so overwhelmed and scared. I finally said what I should have said way back at the beginning, though I didn't say it nearly assertively enough, because I was trying to, act innocent, not seem guilty, not make things worse than they'd somehow already become. I was like, "Should I be talking to a lawyer?" And they said, "Do you want to talk to a lawyer? Did you do something that would necessitate the aid of an attorney?" And the other guy's like, "If you want a lawyer, we'll get you one, but I have to say, that does not look good on you." And I shouldn't have believed him as my dad has now drilled into my brain, "You never talk to police, only your lawyer does." But at the time I thought, yeah, I guess asking for a lawyer does make it seem like I did it. Crap. Then they showed me enhanced frames of the video and timestamps, and they're saying all this stuff. It was really a blur at that point. But one thing in particular stood out. They said something that they'd already said a time or two before, but it hadn't totally sunken in until then. They alleged, "Your buddies thought this would be some quick money. They thought it'd be real slick to order a pizza instead of just calling and saying bring the stuff up." At this point it had been established they thought I'd transported some large sum of ill-gotten cash into this apartment, and that we wouldn't be suspicious or we wouldn't follow up. I know you're a good guy. You didn't know what you were getting yourself into. But if you're not honest with us, we can't help you. I had told them repeatedly about the other guy who'd showed up to supposedly deliver a pizza. I'd even pointed him out on the footage. Unfortunately, the cameras didn't have audio, so they couldn't hear me arguing with the people in the apartment over the measly few bucks, or more importantly, hear this other guy say pizza. Because the other guy didn't have a pizza box and I did, they didn't believe me that I wasn't the pizza part of this operation. To recap, apparently what they'd uncovered from the real criminals is they were meant to take receipt of some money. The guys inside the apartment were told something like, "That afternoon, you'll get a pizza," to try and prevent anyone from saying anything incriminating on paper. These dumb ducks in the apartment did not understand the instructions and actually ordered a real pizza instead of just waiting for their cash delivery to show up. I'm pretty certain all that arguing I'd heard on the phone was one of the other criminals asking something to the effect of, "Are you sure you're supposed to order an actual pizza?" Because what else would they have been arguing about? It was a matter of proving my pizza delivery was legitimate. They tried to get a record of the delivery when they talked to my boss, but we're a small shop. We only keep tickets through the end of the week, and we just sign a piece of paper confirming our tip amount every night. These guys wouldn't have factored in since they didn't pay. I didn't have anyone but the criminals to corroborate my story, and there was nothing in it for them to exonerate me, or they would have done it by now. But then I remembered. The chef. I told him all about this delivery. I begged the cops to talk to him and reminded them I'd followed them right out of the store before I'd known what this was about, so they could trust he was totally untainted. Sure enough, he recounted it exactly as I told him and told police. The stories matched near identically. The cops went through our phone logs, but these guys had called in their order from a burner, so that was of no help. I figured the chef would be enough, but after I'd been in the precinct for nearly 8 hours total, they said they were going to go ahead and hold me until they could verify I didn't go with a decoy pizza and somehow give them money another way until they found the real delivery guy. They never would because they didn't believe me that he was the other guy outside of the apartment on the video without a box. I don't know if he had the cash taped to him or what, but the cops were convinced it couldn't be him because he didn't have any bag, box, or something to hold the money. Finally, realizing this was not a misunderstanding that was going to go away, all these years of watching law, order kicked in and I asked for my phone call. I got my dad on the line and he of course said don't say another word and showed up with an attorney who had me out within an hour of his arrival. I was formally cleared of all involvement the next day. Barely got an apology. None of this will show up on my record or anything, but still, you'd think they'd be a little more remorseful about what they put me through. My boss gave me a couple paid days off, having seen how serious it all was with questioning the chef and searching the phone logs and everything. I think he was just glad I wasn't an embezzler or a serial murderer or otherwise a criminal, because for the longest time, all they would tell him is I was involved in a situation and they needed information. So, yeah, tread lightly. Don't be like me and make this your whole career. Or do, if your only alternative is to be a cash mule for a crime syndicate. I'm super happy to have not worked there. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.